everyone, I'm Captain Logan. Got Connor Nielsen here in person. Hello, Connor.
Hey,
he's not a hologram or anything. Look, I can touch him, and but only touch him.
Don't do anything else.
Don't do anything else. Today, Connor and I are going to talk a little bit about Troll 2. This is a He Made Me Watch. I let Connor make me watch something. And that was a mistake. And Connor is going to kind of run point today, and he's got some questions he wants to ask me about this movie. And I don't know if I'm going to have any answers. This movie is really strange. Connor, would you please give us a little bit of a rundown about what this movie is? And like we always do on He Made Me Watch, we haven't done this in a long time. The reason that you chose this and wanted me to have to suffer through it. Go ahead.
So we watched Troll 2. And I know I'm supposed to give a synopsis, but before I do this, I want to know what you thought this was about. What did you think was going on in this movie?
What do you mean, like while I was watching it?
Yeah, while you were watching it.
I don't want to do that yet.
Okay.
I just want you to give like the basic setup so that we can have some context for people that haven't seen this. I don't want to do that yet.
I understand. Okay, so this is apparently from 1991. This is directed by Drago Floyd, who I think that's a pseudonym. It's not actually the person's name. It was made by a crazy Italian guy.
So that doesn't sound like a crazy Italian name.
And like a lot of great bad movies have been in the past. So this movie is, you might think from the title, it's a sequel to the film Troll. This is not the case. This is Troll 2. Is a film about goblins, and it is the story of the Waits family. Primarily the son Joshua. He has an older sister and some parents, and which
also sounds like it should be a biopic about a famous musician, but it's not that either.
It's not, no. And so he has a cousin named Tom. It has nothing.
Tom Waits in Troll 2. Tom Waits is Troll 2.
Is Grandpa Seth in
Grandpa Seth.
So Joshua he's visited by the specter of his dead Grandpa Seth, who tells him about the dangerous goblins. And what ends up happening is Joshua's family is going on vacation, you see. They will be swapping houses with people who live in the farm, and it will be a month-long swap.
Which we only ever see the inside of the house and never the farm?
We don't know what they're farming. Are they supposed to continue the season from that family? We don't know. So they end up swapping houses, and before you know it, Grandpa Seth was right. Some goblins start showing up. And there are multiple subplots.
The ambiguous ghost of Grandpa Seth, who may or may not have died and gone to hell, was correct.
Yes. There are subplots involving the sister. Her boyfriend follows them to Nilbog.
She doesn't like that he has friends.
And he and his boys. They come
posse.
with him. They come with him on their RV. And they follow, and that's kind of the way you set up to have some regular every 10-minute kills with the friends. And then the main A-plot is the family having to fight the residents and the goblins of Nilbog.
You ever got on a date and brought the girl into your RV, and you're like, what do you think of my RV?
You got some corn, baby?
I prefer popcorn.
That is a scene I have a lot of questions about. So
I have a lot of questions about everything.
So that's the general setup. Yeah, what do you think is going on in this movie? About like the mythology and like because like plants are a thing, and there's Stonehenge, and there's all these crazy things.
It seemed like just throwing a bunch of stuff in a pot or throwing D20s and being like it felt like one of those things where it's like, let's pick a mythological creature that hasn't had a mainstream mythology, and it'll be like this new thing we can mine. But they're just kind of like throwing random darts at the wall with it. So it's like, okay, they're goblins, and they want to eat people, and they disguise themselves as human beings and think that it's easier to get people to let themselves be devoured if they if they have a pretense of like inviting them to a party and having a feast or something, except like everything about what they're doing is like ominous and creepy, and clearly they have an ulterior motive. You know what it's like? It's like the that bit in the first Treehouse of Horror episode in The Simpsons where you have the aliens who have all this, like, it is the introduction to the aliens for that show, and throughout the short, or that section of that episode, they keep having all this innuendo about eating the Simpsons, and like it's really obvious that's what's going on, but at the end the big twist is they're not actually trying to eat the Simpsons, but I don't know why they were talking like they were going to the whole time. It doesn't really work. But like this is like that if the aliens actually were trying to kill the Simpsons. We're like, yeah, it's really obvious that you're wanting to eat us, and that you look like fattening us up first. So how come you don't just come to them in your scary troll bot, or they're not trolls, your scary Nilbog bodies? Well, we should talk about that, because the town is called Nilbog. It's goblin backwards, and
thus it is their kingdom.
Yeah, and so that's like a big twist in like the middle of the movie, where it's like, oh my god, the kid is like, oh my god, they're goblins because it's Nilbog backwards, even though he had a lot of clues that he was dealing with goblins in the first, but he kind of already knew that it was goblins from the beginning. Like there's that story that the Seth ghost is telling at the beginning of the movie, and like it was always goblins. So I don't know what the point of the thing spelling backwards, except that he's able to use it as circumstantial evidence that there's goblins.
To convince his dad.
Yeah. So anyway, so you have the whole aspect of the goblins want to eat people, and then there's something to do with turning them into plants first. But I can't tell if they're gonna always do that. I guess that is what it is at the end, right? When we get that kind of we're gonna spoil everything with this movie, and it will be incoherent if you've not seen it, and you won't know what the heck we're talking about. So I don't want to say watch this movie first, but I guess I am kind of saying that.
I would absolutely say watch this. I've seen this movie like 6 times. I love this movie. I think it's magical.
You when you get to the end of the movie and the goblins eat the mom, and good riddance, really. I'm glad you're dead. She looks like she's been transformed into chlorophyll. So I'm assuming that it was always like, we turn you into a plant first. So there's this goblin plant connection, and I don't know what that's about. And the best thing I could come up with is garden gnomes, where they're thinking goblins look like garden gnomes, and they protect your lawn just by being there. So it is something plants.
And they have like that picture of the goblin in like a field or something, where it has like a hat that's kind of like a garden gnome, I guess. So,
and there's also some connection to farming. It's like they go there and they're supposed to be farmers. It's like farm country, and then the goblins turn you into plants and eat you. I don't know why any of that. I don't know what any of that means, but yeah, no, I'm lost. I don't know what any of that is.
So I'm going to tell you what's really going on. This might clear some things up for you then. And I know this because I've seen the movie like 6 times now.
But there's like actually a definitive,
I think so,
like through with this. Like, okay, all right.
So goblins are vegetarians. They just are vegetarian. Why? I don't know.
Oh, well, they do say that in the movie. Yeah.
And so,
and they their like favorite, like, meat freaks them out.
Their favorite food is half plant, half human people. And so what they do is they try to lure humans to them and then feed them food or drink that have like green stuff in it so that they can eat it. And then that green stuff is what transforms them into plant people so that they can eat them. I don't know why it's so convoluted. I don't know why they don't just eat grass. I don't know why they don't eat vegetables.
Because they're inherently not vegetarians if they're eating people.
Exactly. It's really weird.
Because if the people are 100% plant, when they make them into plants, then they can just go eat plants.
Exactly. It's so strange. I don't know. So what did you think of the primary cast, the Waits family? What is your read on them?
Well, they're not people.
That's true. How did you feel
And
about
the acting is the worst.
Yes,
And the writing is the worst. And nobody has, like, like dialogue that sounds like a real person would say it. Not one line of dialogue. It sounds like a real person would say it.
So
Not remotely organic. I told Connor this while we were watching it. The writer brain in me, like I kept having an alarm going off about word choice. Just couldn't deal with it. Not even a lot of like mixed metaphors, but just mixed like literal sentences. Like, that word contradicts that word. That's not what you meant. That was not the word you meant. There was a lot of that in this.
There's a lot of mumbling through the sentence, putting inflections on the wrong words, especially
because these actors couldn't get their, and none of these are real actors, but they can't get their mouths around the dialogue because it's so inorganic.
Yeah.
So unnatural.
Now, there was a point where we cut back to the boys.
And real quick, before you go there, let me also just say, because you asked what I thought of those characters, like, it's one of those, like, really immature, like, right out of high school kind of scripts. Mm-hmm. So, like, I've read this kind of thing in workshops, like, a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's that sort of thing where it's like, I can't have people talk like real people because I'm writing a story. And in stories, there's like, it's supposed to be either formal or heightened or both. Mm-hmm. And this had that whole thing. And the big cliche that you always run into is in order to make people feel realistic or believable, you have to give them character flaws. And that, in an overcompensation happens from the writer, which turns it into they're all horrible people, which comes from no place at all. Yeah. And, like, these are all horrible people. A thing I've never seen in a movie before is these horrible parents raising horrible children. Like, the boy maybe not so much, but, like, the girl is awful. The mom and dad are... The mother is trying to, like, force good morale in the car, where she's like, sing a song and like it, and then
sing that song I like
so much, and then it's row 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 your boat, which was the best, by the way. But a thing I've never seen in a movie before is these characters that I have wanted to see murdered the entire movie, and I was wishing it was a slasher film because then I would see that happen. But I didn't appreciate the mom getting eaten at the end because she was the worst. It's the goodness of them that defeats the goblins just by putting their hands on a Stonehenge stone. These, like, awful, horrible people, their goodness wins the... I've never seen that. I've never seen that literally. And I've seen movies where we pretend like people are heroes that aren't.
Yeah.
But I've never seen, like, oh, the power... Because as soon as they said that, I turned to you and I was like... Well, we're all done for then. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no hope now. You need goodness. You got to go to these people. You're screwed. Like,
yeah. So one thing that I think is interesting about the family dynamic is there is some attempt to have like history repeating itself throughout the generations, where we find out that Grandpa Seth is the father of the mom character, and we know this by the great dialogue. This was very hard for you, your dad, your sister, and me, his daughter.
Me, his daughter. She's saying this to her kid.
Yes.
She's like, me, his daughter.
But Grandpa Seth is dead, and so.
And I kept wanting other characters to do that throughout the movie. By the way, yeah. I really wanted the dad to walk in and be like, me, your father.
And so while this is all happening, the daughter is dating a guy named Elliot, and he just wants to hang out with his boys, and she doesn't like that. And the dad character, I think it's the actor's George something, but he doesn't like Elliot, and he says that playboy son of the Coopers, he is a good for nothing. He says that a few times. He says, "Oh, that boyfriend of yours."
And the grandfather feels the same way about him and calls him a good for nothing.
And then later, Grandpa Seth, you find out, didn't like the dad, the little Joshua's dad, because he was a good for nothing. And so you have
What does any of that thematic stuff have to do with the A story?
It has nothing to do with anything.
It's
just that that's what's weird about it, because it feels like at some point somebody thought, oh, there should probably be connective tissue between some of these characters. Oh, how about, this dad
was trying to make the character drama sort of about something at some point.
It's just there to like fill time and like and it's like the illusion of filling in gaps of characters. But it's such a strange choice, because not liking your daughter's boyfriend has nothing to do with anything in this movie, and it's really funny when it keeps coming up because it feels irrelevant.
There's no thematic parallel to the plant people eating goblins.
No, and I love it. But we do have, you're saying this isn't a slasher movie, and you're right. But we do have that element of characters getting picked off every so often in the form of Elliot's friends, the boys. So how did you feel about the boys? Because they have some of my favorite scenes. Because this is really a movie of scenes that I really like, because there are so many bizarre ones.
Yeah, like what? I don't know.
Like the part where one of his friends goes to buy milk, and there's the wacky like grocery store owner. There's the part where they're all sitting down watching like the ape on the rocket. There's like the part, of course, the iconic "oh my god" scene where Arnold, meets a girl like the guy in the story at the beginning. There are so many and weird. I think there's a whole reading. I have like a whole. I think this movie is thematically trying to say something that's kind of not relevant to goblins or whatever, but I can get into that a little bit later. But how did you feel about that element of the friends getting picked off?
I don't know.
Because you kept asking me like, why is the subplot here?
Yeah, I mean, that was the question. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why that subplot was there.
But that through that subplot we find Credence, Leonore.
Yeah, not Lenore, but Leonore.
Leonore Gwildig or something of that effect, who I guess is the main villain. But one thing that I thought was interesting about this is that we are introduced through her and her lair through the friend subplot, and one guy gets lost or runs with the girl to her lair, and then they die or they get turned into plants or whatever, and then one of the guys who goes looking for him is wondering where Arnold is, and they say, "Oh, he said to meet you in the house that looks like an old church." Like he's supposed to know where that is. And then he goes there and then winds up dead, I guess. And then she ends up leaving after she gets, turned young. So there's like a witch character, she turns young. And then she goes to the boys' RV to seduce with a corn cob the last one.
I don't know why she does that except to feed, I guess.
But she doesn't die.
Yeah.
And so she...
Yeah, I was wondering if that was foiled in some way, that it kind of happens off screen. Yeah.
And so then when all this is done... So
that has the weirdest line reading in the whole movie.
Yes, it does.
When he says that he prefers popcorn, but the inflection is completely wrong. It's really strange.
Yeah, because he says... No, actually, so there's an ear of corn, and she's dressed up, in like lingerie or whatever, and then she's like,
and they keep doing the garter shot.
Yeah, he whips out an ear of corn, and then she's like, she says, "What's the matter? Aren't you hungry?" And then he says, "No, actually, I like popcorn," or "Actually, I like popcorn."
Yeah, that's what he says. I like popcorn.
And then she says, "No matter."
Which sounds like a response to "Do you like popcorn?"
Yes.
No, it was really weird.
I think the line is supposed to be read, "No, actually, I like popcorn."
I like popcorn. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is weird because if you're starving,
and then she's like, "I can make popcorn happen."
And so they eat the corn in the they make out, or it's weird. So they start eating the corn on the cob with simultaneously, and I guess
it's like a perversion of the Lady and the Tramp thing in a way.
Yeah, and then popcorn just starts popping, and you can practically see like stagehands like throwing popcorn on them.
And it's one of those things where I'm like, is this supposed to be a tense scene, or am I supposed to be laughing?
I have no idea.
I don't know. And is this some kind of an allegory for something? Is there like a like steamy sex thing? With like there's some kind of a heat metaphor here, of course, but I don't really know what it's saying.
So I got a whole read on so I think this movie is very strange when you try looking at like what it thinks morality is. I know.
Well, see, I can't go there with it. I can't go with it because you start it with characters that aren't people and don't make any sense. And like those people can't have morality because they're not people, and I just have a really hard time going there with it, with a thing like that.
So
on a first viewing,
yeah. This is something I think 2 times ago. I'm like, hold up, there's something weird going on. So the first time we meet Elliot, he gets punched in the nads by his girlfriend, and he says, "What, are you trying to turn me into a homo?"
Yeah.
Which is like the weirdest line ever. And then throughout it, oh, you're always wanting to hang out with your boy, your friends, your boys. And so there's like this weird like repression of like homosexuality that I'm reading into this movie, where he wants to be with his friends, but he's always he has to leave that. And so you think, oh, this is like a weird fundamentalist Christian thing. But then it's almost like
I would have maybe read that if this was made 10 years after it, but like I was in 1990, I'm a lot quicker to dismiss that line because you heard that kind of thing all over the place. This period, the whole no homo thing was like this is we haven't talked about the period this is made in, but this is a really quintessentially like early 90s movie, like transitioning from 80s to 90s. So like I can see why you're saying that now, but like if I'm watching this when it comes out, I would have never ever thought of that.
There's like a scene where they're waking up, like 2 of them are waking up in bed together, and they don't have any like shirts on.
I didn't know what that was about.
And so it does, and so they keep kind of talking about ladies, am I right? But they never actually want to go out and like find ladies. And then
if that is what it is, it's subconscious on the part of a writer who probably is like freaked out by the idea of homosexuality. I really doubt that. I could be wrong about that, but that's what it, after you say that, that's how it watches to me, where like the repression is probably from the part of the person who wrote
no, that's what I'm talking about. I don't think like it, that's what I'm saying, like
the way you're talking about it sounded like you were saying that that's what the movie's about, and that they're like
I think a lot of this is unintentional.
Yeah, it would have to be.
Yeah. So, but then like later, when like the lady comes, it's a corn on the cob. It's a phallic shaped, fruit or like vegetable or something. So it's just like there's like a lot of those things where I think it's weird. Then but there's also like broader like societal things of like they're not eating. And people are just telling them to constantly eat because that's how you transform them. And so there's almost like this weird like body dysmorphia thing or like a eating disorder. Like I don't think any of this is like thought through, but like it's just sort of there, and it's weird that I don't know. Like I think that all this stuff is just sort of in there, and I don't think the writers really know what they're doing, or the director even knows what's happening in it. But I find like there are so many weird scenes because they're like specifically weird. But like the dad going on a rant about how when he was young he felt hunger pains and like he's tightening and he's like, yeah, Joshua, I actually did when I was your age. I actually was hungry, and so I got practice on you. And so it's just there's a lot of weird. And then
I thought that just meant like he grew up poor or something. Like I didn't know if there was some sort of like class thing that was supposed to be there, but then I don't see that in the rest of this movie.
But he clearly talks about hunger, and the daughter talks about how they've been fasting for 2 days, and they always talk about how hungry they are. But
see, I thought that was one of those just dumb word choice things. So she's not intentionally fasting. There's just nothing to eat, so none of them are eating. So she just used the word fasting.
But then, but if you do eat, then it's bad. You know what I mean?
Because I don't get what the whole like eat or you'll be eaten thing was about. I cannot get my mind around that.
I think it's like them trying to trick them into eating. Oh, you better eat something quick, or you're gonna get eaten.
Yeah, but who wrote the note? Because early on you get a note that's like eat or you'll be eaten, and I didn't know if they wrote that or if that was a thing that came from like the Seth character. Like I didn't know what that was.
Yeah,
because it wasn't. I can't remember where that was written. Was it written the way all the other stuff was?
It was written on a baseball.
Was that one of the baseball things?
It was the first baseball.
No. There's another one somewhere that's like a sign or it's on a door or something. I can't remember now. But I thought there was one that wasn't written in green. That was like a warning. That was like warning them against the goblins. Like don't. I saw this once. I'm not remembering.
And I
was inundated with weirdness.
It's
so
just
like
it's always thrown at you.
Like all this analysis you're wanting to do, I haven't processed.
I know.
This. We just watched this minutes ago.
But
so like when you like, I didn't mean to be dismissive, but when you asked me about like the boys being picked off, like I forgot any of them died except for I actually forgot any of them died. Like.
Well, yeah, because they don't show.
They keep like cutting back to that RV, and it seemed like just a filling time thing. I wasn't sure what to make of it. Mm-hmm. Now that you say that, it's probably like we're just trying to make the villains scarier by actually killing off characters. We don't want to kill off any of the family because we want to lull you into a false sense of security when you get into the end of the movie, so that you'll think that your heroes all made it out alive, but then. Twist, we killed the horrible mom, which is the best thing that happens in the movie.
Yeah. So there's like a weird thing about like hell in this movie.
Yeah.
So
there's a bizarre like you're talking about like weird, potential like homosexual overtone or undertones, and then there's also this like weird religious undertone thing where I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, because you think, this feels like it's made by maybe like fundamentalist religious something or other, but then like the bad guys are coded in classical like Bible thumping sort of imagery where like the bad
that's why I didn't have that thought like you did. That it felt like it was maybe made by fundamentalists. I didn't have that thought because the bad guys are like, you got the preacher and his congregation, and they seem like cultists.
And they say like, get out of here, you've come from hell. Like, so is hell like a noble thing? Like, or is it not? I have no idea, because then Grandpa Seth's like, no, I've never been to hell, but I knew somebody who was there.
I don't know what that means. That was strange. Yeah, it seemed like the other guy was either like lying or uneducated about how the afterlife works.
And Grandpa Seth has like weird powers he can just do.
Yeah.
That are like very convenient to the plot. But.
Well, and also the story should be over in 3 minutes.
Yes.
Because that guy can become corporeal at will, and it's the story is predicated on like the really cliche, only one person can see the ghost, so nobody else believes him, except that's not true, and he then comes to other people in the family, and I don't know why he didn't do that in the first place, and he never comes to the parents, and then there is an explanation for that, which is, your mother never listened to me, and I don't like the guy that she married, and I'm like, but if you came to him as a floating head, maybe he'd pay attention to you because you're an undead, or because you're a deceased ghost floating head, but you can also, anytime you want, just manifest and hit people. So why don't you just do that? Like, he could have solved all their problems for them. He's kind of omnipotent, it seems.
Yeah, and
he can show up anywhere he wants to. Is he a cartoon character where he can just pull out props anytime he wants to, or does he actually pick them up from somewhere? Because he hits people with things.
He shows up with an axe. Yeah, he shows up with an axe at one point.
Yeah,
and cuts off a goblin's arm.
Is it a celestial axe?
I have no idea. He just kind of drops it.
Is he Redeemer or Anti-Spawn? What is going on?
There's a lot of psychoplasm or necroplasm in this.
There is a lot of it, or kryptonite, depending on how you look at it.
And so, yeah, then he shows up later with a Molotov. He just kind of pulls a Molotov cocktail up.
I can go to as many Smallville parodies with this parallels as as I can with Spawn parallels, and that's very strange. Both of those are you got this small town where it's a little off and something is not right. Except this is an actual small town. It's actually so insanely small it shouldn't be called a town.
Yeah, it's like they say it has 27 people, including the mayor.
There's a mayor. Mm-hmm. Remember the part where the sheriff just says girls and laughs hysterically and drives off?
That's the other part of like the weird like homosexual, like I don't know what it's trying to say there, because it's like, are there any girls here? And he goes, girls? And then he drives off, and then he just kind of walks over, and there's just a bunch of guys, men surrounding him.
You know where I thought that was going?
Where's that?
I thought it was gonna be, and then the ending would make you think that maybe they had this thought, but they decided to drop it for some reason. I thought it was traditional virgin sacrifice or female sacrifice.
Oh, yeah.
Where like the reason there's no girls is because they ate them all, and and maybe because. Well, actually, they don't have any people at all. But what I was thinking was the goblins, except for the queen, all have to be men for some reason.
Yes.
And like the goblins maybe only feed on girls for some reason. And then when you get to the end, they kill the mother.
Oh, that's right.
But they also are after the kid and apparently pick off the boys in the RV. So like that's not what's going on. But I had that thought. I thought that's what we were doing for a minute.
We never see them eat.
I thought maybe it was like the queen was using girls to feed the goblins or something. But that's not what's going on.
Well, it's interesting you say that because all the boys, you never see any of the boys actually get eaten. Because Arnold gets turned into a plant. Where he's like,
that's why I didn't know what to say when you said that. Because what did happen to the boys? Like,
yeah, he gets turned into a plant, which has like a bang mask.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is comedy, where he's like, "Come on, get me out of here! I'm in a pot, move me!" And then he's like trying to pull him. And I don't know if that's trying to be funny.
Again,
or not.
I couldn't decide if that was supposed to be like a tense scene or a yeah.
But he's so wiped out from having Nilbog milk that he gets like swatted by. Credence Leonore Gwildig onto like the bed, and she again a woman violently hitting a man onto a bed, and he like gets knocked out, and then but then he says she says I'm going to turn you into a milkshake for your friend. So then he's like, so she pulls out a chainsaw and cuts him up, and then.
Which is when it goes to this bizarre reanimator place.
And then it cuts to, a blender going off. So I guess that's Arnold, the guy who looks kind of like Stephen King. And then he says, okay, so I guess the kid who looks like a Karate Kid from Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
I guess he drank that milkshake.
Or did he actually drink it?
We don't know. It just cuts away. So I guess he did. And then the third boy is like she seduces, and then they eat popcorn, I guess. And then she just leaves, and
that's just dropped.
It is,
right?
In the Wikipedia page, it says he's left immobile or like paralyzed. I didn't get that at all.
Because we never cut back to him.
We never cut back to him. But then what we do see is there is a random girl who is running away from the goblins, and we do see her get eaten though.
And where does she come from?
I have no idea.
Why is she in that town?
I thought it was like a goblin trick or something.
But I guess it's not.
I suppose not.
Because she's like violently murdered.
Yeah. In like the longest scene in the movie where she's like,
oh yeah. Yeah, with that weird shot up the stairs.
It's like you can move your camera. You can just like go over here. I don't know.
You can shoot some of it from in front and behind.
Yeah.
It's not a 2D side scroller. I don't understand why we're just up that staircase.
It would take too long to move the lights. Because they do have lights for this. You had mentioned that.
Yeah, I want to talk production and I want to talk performance some more because there's a lot of acting in this, and then the overall production reminds me so much of Goosebumps. This is like this is like somebody made a like Cinemax movie, sort of that's made as a Goosebumps episode. It's really strange. It's like you're trying to make a Goosebumps episode for adults. In again like more of a reanimator way for some reason. It's really weird. A lot of the performances are that way. A lot of the cinematography, if we can call it that, is straight out of Goosebumps. A lot of the camera moves at a face when somebody's freaking out and screaming at something at a Dutch angle and moving forward, and it looks like we should be cutting to commercial immediately after that. There's a bunch of that, and then the lighting is just like that. And then some of the story choices feel like R.L. Stine choices to me. And this is just before
stuff.
No, I mean like the twist ending. Except it's a thing that he could do in Fear Street, but wouldn't have been able to do in Goosebumps, because Goosebumps is always like sort of safe, where it's creepy and weird things happen, but nobody really dies for sure. Or if they do, like maybe they do, but we don't know that they do, that kind of thing. But like some of so some of the story choices are very Goosebumps, because that whole thing, I don't know if you saw the Goosebumps movie, but we made a big deal out of, like, you know the twist. That's what is supposed to make those books good, and like most of them have a thing like that, and this has that with the mom at the end. But also a lot of like creepy metamorphizing happens in that, specifically with stuff like plants. Like, there's a lot of stay out of the basement in this, and this is all before that series starts.
Stay out of the nilbog.
Yeah. Like people turning into plants is like a motif that comes up in those books quite a bit. Yeah, no, there's a lot of Goosebumps in this before Goosebumps is even a thing.
Weird.
But just before. And one of the things that makes it feel so much like that is because it's still more or less the same period that show starts 5 or 6 years after this.
I guess other production details, like there's a ton of Warner Brothers, and I guess more than Warner Brothers, just items around. At one point, the boy's wearing a G.I. Joe shirt.
It's the kind of thing you do in a fan film.
Yeah. There's like a Batman 89 poster. Mm-hmm. There's a Killing Joke poster. He has, I think, a Looney Tunes, like a Tasmanian devil at one point, like stuffed animal.
He's got a Bugs Bunny in the background.
I'm just like wondering how they, I don't know if like licensing was different back then, but it's just weird that there are that many pop culture things populating the sets in this.
Yeah, movie. And it's not all just Warner's, so I don't know that there's any reason for it.
Yeah, I don't know. So I know a little bit about like the history of this movie because they did make a documentary on this in the early 2010s. The kid in this movie, he made it, and he grew up and he found all the other actors. And the dad character was a high school quarterback, most popular guy in town. He became a dentist. Everyone loves him, and he thought, hey, I'll try my hand at acting, and he was no good at it. But through that, they're sort of...
That is true.
They are... He's so bad. He might be the worst actor in this movie.
He's not, because the mom is worse.
She has like the dead behind the eyes like performance where she just kind of blankly says things. It turns out...
And she's supposed to be reassuring, but she's actually like terrifying?
Yeah. She looks like one of the goblins. That one goblin who has this weird... shape, but
not just that, she just looks like a mom who's pretending like her heart's in the right place, in the right place, but she actually really like detests her children and wishes that she never had them.
So apparently that actress like went like insane, like legitimately, like
I think she was on her way.
Yeah.
While I was watching this,
that part of the documentary is a little uncomfortable, but that because she's like, oh yeah, there's like Casablanca, and then there's Troll 2, like. Obviously.
Holy crap.
And she has like some weird like...
so she thinks it's a good movie.
Oh yeah,
that she was in.
She was like, oh yeah, I was in a great movie. But that's not why she's like, it's like there's like weird like ways she communicates that are very clearly like she's not all there. And then the director is like all angry that this is like a midnight screening like fan favorite because he's like, no, I made a great movie.
Wow.
And so he was really upset about it. And then there's like,
what's crazy is the room's got nothing on this because like Wiseau, he acts now like everything was intentional, but like he was earnestly making a movie. But everyone involved in that knows what it is. But you're saying with this, there's like an actor who has the Wiseau thing.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
The kid knew he was in something bad. The dad character knew he was in something bad. But then there is like this weird thing about that documentary because it is not only trying to document what making that movie was actually like for those actors, it's also trying to be about the current cult status of the movie. So you do have like all these actors kind of getting together and then going to midnight screenings and talking to like B-movie fans and like going to conventions. And there's like a part where the dad character is like at a convention. He's looking around. He's like, I don't get this. Like, what are these people doing here? He's like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And so he almost like kind of has a bit of an ego because he's kind of getting that scratch of fame that he kind of wanted from being an actor that he never actually got authentically, but now he's kind of getting it ironically. So that's kind of interesting too. it's all this movie is very fascinating to me. I really like it. I mean, I do legitimately enjoy watching this movie, even though it's terrible, but it's great. 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I stand by it.
I don't know. It was odd. Like when we started this, I like momentarily forgot what the title of it was, because when you first brought it up, and I've heard people talk about this because it has that cult status now, and it's like one of those infamously bad things. So when you hear people bring up B movie, it's The Room and it's Troll 2 and it's a couple other things, and I was like, oh, okay, so that's of course going to be like one of those kind of like raunchy B horror movies, and then we started watching it, and the first 5 minutes, it feels like it's going to be like a fantasy adventure film for kids. Maybe?
Because it's...
And you're supposed to identify with the kid, like, from the very beginning?
Yeah, it does have a sort of Princess Bride, you were saying, never-ending story.
Yeah,
sort of...
there's a... It bookends with never-ending story, but then the rest of it is just a B-horror thing. Mm-hmm. Although it kind of jumps around between genres in different places, it kind of feels like...
Yeah,
like it doesn't establish tone well at all.
No, and that's like you will be wondering if this is a comedic scene, a dramatic scene, or a spooky scene, or a suspenseful scene. I just don't know. And the whole movie is like tonally like amorphous, it's tonally consistent. Every scene feels like the last scene, which is confused, and you have no idea what you're really supposed to be feeling. So it's consistently, its tone is consistent.
Yeah, yeah. I think I agree with that, but I don't understand it.
Oh,
I don't see how it's even possible. Because like I do feel like we're kind of switching genres here and there, but it's not like different scenes belong in different movies.
Yeah,
it's like it's like each scene. It almost feels like it's screaming for a censor, which like I don't think I've ever said about anything, but it's like it's not until 10 or 15 minutes in the movie that we start getting to kind of like, racy dialogue and stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is turned into a real like rated R kind of thing, and like it's not visually really raunchy, but it is in dialogue, and it starts to go to like a Friday the 13th Halloween kind of place, and you're like, except like smuttier than that, and you're like, wait, who is this for?
I don't know, and it wears its influences on its sleeve very like the Neil Bog is goblin spelled. That's just The Shining.
This is The Shining, yeah,
and so I don't know if it's trying to take like those are I can identify that Shining because it's just a plot point lifted directly, but am I supposed to get that feeling from it? Is it supposed to have like a Kubrickian long take? Because there are some scenes that are just all in one take, but it just feels like it's because they didn't have the money to do multiple.
Well, and
takes.
you say now with the documentary that the guy that directed this was making it earnestly. It does not watch like a thing that knows it's absurd.
Yes, and that's what I think is,
which is crazy to think when you look at some of the performances, particularly the Goblin Queen, because I told Connor when we were watching it, it's like they picked up an actress at a haunted house. It's like a haunted house actress they just picked up off the street, and then her take was like goblin librarian, like elementary school librarian.
Yeah, her eyebrows are all like always like, ooh, my little flower.
And that was, I mean, she's not French, but that was one of the things that most made it feel like a Goosebumps episode to me, was that character.
And that set too.
That set, yeah, that because you had the dry ice and you had like the bubbling chemicals, but her and the kid both. Because, of course, Goosebumps episodes are always going to follow some kid. And then you're going to have, like, the really over-the-top villain character that is supposed to be a little bit creepy, but we make it overly over-the-top so that it's not too scary.
Yes.
For kids?
Yeah.
Like, it had that thing. Which is why it was so bizarre when you get to, like the boys talking about going to this town wanting to get laid. Which is, like, the worst place on the planet to go to if that's what you're after. I don't understand that. I also don't understand the kid. Sorry, I'm jumping around.
No,
I also don't understand the kid that is upset with his friend for going off with his girlfriend and doing what they all went there to do.
I don't know. Yeah, come on, man. What am I supposed to do?
And then he goes, "What about the girls?" Like, he found one. That's the point.
Yes. So
why don't you stay in town and go find chicks? I don't understand.
Yeah, there are so many like strange.
What possessed them to think that there would be women there at all? Why did they think that?
Because I guess Elliot told them that there were, and so they just took his word for it. I don't know.
And you know what? As much as the sister sucks, I will give her. If I'm her, I would just assume that my boyfriend's not bringing his posse of 4 other guys on a family trip.
Yeah.
That's weird.
There are lines of dialogue that I just want to shine a light on, because there's some of them are just so strange, and like the delivery feels like it's like a masterful comic timing. Like, what are we supposed to do? Hold a seance? You're a genius, big sister.
You're a genius. And then we cut to something else for a while. When we get back to them, they're just doing a seance.
Yes.
It's not even like you cleverly... It's not even that thing where a character is clever because they were reminded of something hit them because of something somebody else said. It's like, oh, you said light, so that made me think of fire. You know, it was just seance. And then they just do a seance?
And then later, after the seance, and it's a dramatic shot across all of the main characters as the goblins are coming in, and the boyfriend says, "Hey, let's just all be friends. We're humans, right?" I don't know if that's supposed to be comic relief or not. I think, like, me saying that out loud...
And they're not humans, and he knows that, so I don't understand that line?
Yeah. The "Hey, Arnold, if you find any twins, don't be greedy." That line is like an alien wrote that. I have no idea what possessed.
Well, everything the parents say is like aliens wrote it too. But no, you're right. Also, visual communication is sometimes problematic. My favorite example is all the milk looks like this, and I'm like, it's milk. I don't understand. I'm pretty sure what they mean is it's spoiled. And so you take a jug of milk and you go, smell this. We don't want to drink this. It's spoiled. And so explain that to me. What was the whole spoiled milk thing about?
So I guess, all of the food that they're giving to people is to like, it's to turn them into plant people, but it's always green except for the milk.
And they act like they have this special milk, but it clearly didn't come from cows. I'm not sure what it is.
I don't know why they made it so gross. If you want to trick somebody into having something to eat, just make it like normal milk.
Well, that was the big thing I meant to say earlier is it that like we're not doing a very good job of tricking these people.
No, basically
we're not even trying, and that's why I said, why don't they just come in their goblin form and be monsters and just eat them?
Yeah, just surround them and throw spears at them.
Well, the thing is, what's funny is the Goblin Queen seems to kind of have it right. Mm-hmm. Because she's much better at turning people into plants without all that much pretense. Like, if she has the ability to just stop a person in their tracks and basically and immobilize them, why don't they just do that?
I don't know.
I'm also not sure how she... Was it something that she got them to eat? Was it the broth that made them do that?
Yes, yeah, because they were turning into plants and that made them not move.
So here's an idea. Just give everybody the broth.
That's another drop plot thread, because she does make a cheesecake for the family.
Oh, yeah.
And brings it to them, and then she's like looking at the daughter going, "Ooh, she looks appetizing."
And then the mom's like, appetizing?
Oh, I mean, provocative. Again, that kind of plays into like this weird thing that's going on. But
yeah, I would not have picked up on that on a first viewing, but I think you're onto something more. We're talking about it. But if I, obviously I would not be writing this, but if I was writing that, I would have just kept that whole thing going where it's appetizing, or she also appetize, provocative. She just keeps changing words, just like 5 or 6.
Loose, scantily clad.
It just keeps going.
But she brings over. They all they talk about is how hungry they are. A mysterious woman when the guys are out mysterious woman shows up and says, "Here is some cheesecake. It's an old family recipe." And then they say, "Okay, thank you, bye." And then you get no resolution. Those the mom and the daughter should be, "Oh my god, food!" And they should just like gobble it up. But they don't. It's just completely dry.
I guess, but if you go to if you go somewhere where there's like, I guess I'm talking about the kids in the first place. Like they go, it's like this Hansel and Gretel kind of situation, and they go to this woman's house, and it looks like a mad science lab, and she's being super weird and creepy, and has all these bizarre soliloquies, and then she hands them something to drink, and they drink it. Like, why would you do that? I wouldn't begin to ingest anything that woman gave me.
My favorite reaction of yours is when she shows up, because they're like, "What is this?" And then she shows up on the balcony and says, "This is my house!" And then you just like, "What?" And you just started laughing about it. I want to talk a little bit about the ending, because it's weird. But what is there any particular scene... And this is one thing I will say about this movie. Unlike a lot of B movies, there's no boring parts in this movie to me.
That's true. I'm with you there.
It's consistently entertaining, and I've seen it 6 times, and I never feel bored while I watch it. Even the weird drawn-out scenes are kind of funny, because you're wondering why they're drawn out in the way that they are, because there's a part where all the goblins are angry that their preacher guy's dead, and they all start backing up, and backing up, and backing up, and it's like a minute or so of just them backing up, slowly with dramatic music. And then they say, "Quick, everyone inside!" And they just run inside, and then nobody chases them. And so it's just this. It feels like you're watching something that's out of phase with our reality.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so strange. But are there any like scenes in particular that really stuck out to you as particularly strange in this movie?
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I like, we just watched it. I have to go back and look at it. Like, no, yeah.
Because when I first watched, it's like the corn seduction scene.
That's bizarre.
I was like, am I dreaming?
We've kind of hit all the weird scenes that I wanted to talk about. So like, I'd have to roll back and I don't know.
But that scene in particular, like, I couldn't believe I was watching. Like, I thought I was like dreaming. I was like, is this what? Yeah, I don't know. That scene always sticks with me. But do you want to talk a little bit about the ending where they touch Stonehenge and there's a double-decker bologna sandwich?
Well, that's the best line in the movie, is like, "Only touch it," and we're like, what else would you do with it? It's a wall.
Are you not supposed to look at it? Well, you guys have already failed at that.
Yeah, only touch it. I was like, you're not supposed to like rub up against it, lick it.
That does technically count as touching it if you lick it. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
So at the end of this movie, it's weird. You just like, so when they hold a seance to conjure up Grandpa Seth, I guess it's Grandpa Seth.
Oh, real quick, just the more thing, because I just had had to get back into the movie and like back into the weeds. To your question, man, it's probably just like the kid in the potted plant. It's probably just that whole scene.
It's very strange.
Because again, I just don't know totally what it's after.
Yeah, that's a good one, and because you don't know, because if it's just like a normal person shows up to get his friend out of there, it's kind of funny. But he's also like been drinking Nilbog milk and had some of like Gene Freak's sandwich.
Yeah,
and so he's like all woozy. So I don't know if it's supposed to be suspenseful or something. But yeah.
Yeah, the sheriff guy was also really perplexing to me.
Sheriff Gene Freak, who was near as I can tell is doing a John Goodman impression. I don't know.
He's got some, but only in the scene where he's doing a John Goodman impression. Because when he shows up, he's not.
No, he's not. Yeah, when he's yelling at them in the house, he has one of my favorite lines where he says, "Let's remind him that we're here," and then he just takes a shotgun and starts shooting in the sky. It's like, well, you're all standing outside around their house. Why would they think you're not gone? I don't know.
You know what would have been cool, and obviously this is rewriting this movie, which I guess like I can't make suggestions without doing that, because like my ideas would come from like logic and creating an internal logic. But I would think, again, I just wish that the goblins were better at like convincing people that they're like friendly neighbors that just want them to be part of their society. Wouldn't it be cool if we, the audience, along with this family who's not dumbed down and made stupid to buy that these are actually real people and would maybe believe their son when they say goblin, and then they're like, yeah, you might be onto something because look at the way these people are acting. Wouldn't it be cool if it was like at least halfway through the movie before we understood anything about what they were and they seemed like sort of real people, right? Like maybe something is sort of off, but like they're living, you know, this family's living in the town for a while before they really, like, it'd be cool if they were actually taken in by these people and like, you know, they're befriended by some of them, and it should be more like that, you know, like that WandaVision thing of like we have these neighbors and they're friends of ours and something is off but we don't know what it is, so we just go along like business as usual. That would have been a way to make it actually suspenseful and creepy in like a subtle way.
Yes, I and that would, what you're describing sounds like a normal movie, and that was
because there's no reason for these for this family or for these parents to want to stay there any longer than an hour.
Yes,
like they should leave immediately. They can't eat anything. It, like,
I don't know why. Like as a parent, the dad doesn't say, "I'm gonna just go drive over to the next town and grab something." You know, like I don't get it. But I should say though, there is one performance that actually does feel like it knows what it's in, and it's the grocery guy, or the guy who owns the convenience store. He's got some great lines. Like when he asks him about coffee, he's like, "There ain't no coffee in Nilbog. It's the devil's drink. Eggs." Ah!
I expect him to keep doing that every time there was an example. The eggs, and then he's like bacon, and I really needed him to go but he didn't do it. That was sad.
There's your vegetarians here in Nilbog.
I think I probably already said best line delivery, but I'm gonna go to a different one.
Okay.
When that kid, and also like the line is bizarre all at the same time. The kid opens the fridge. And he's like, there's no milk. There's no coffee. He's looking in the fridge when he says coffee. You wouldn't have coffee in the fridge?
Yeah, it's so strange.
That line reading was amazing. You know what this entire movie is?
What's that?
This entire movie is that bad line reading that we know that there was a decent take that they could have used but didn't for some reason from Indiana Jones 4. This entire movie is part-time.
Yes.
The whole movie is part-time.
And that's... Yeah, and what's cool about the performances is that, yeah, you're right, it's all like the wrong takes of everything, but people are doing different kinds of bad acting. Like the old, like the evil preacher guy is you know, hey, I'm gonna get you or something, and I mean the daughter and the dad, you know, they definitely feel like they're related because they can only mumble, and then like the boys are all sort of doing something a little different, and the mom is like got nothing behind her eyes. It's just like it's like every possible bad performance you can get from an actor in an ensemble.
Yeah, every kind of them.
All of them are together.
It's not like bad Power Rangers acting where everybody's acting badly the same way.
So the ending of the movie is like you throw in a new plot. So I don't know how the family knows to go to the Credence Leonore Gwildig's house at the end. Because they've never been there. They don't know what's going on with that.
And the kids didn't get to talk to her because at least the plant kid is dead. Are they both dead? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, all of the boys are dead, but like the main family just shows up there, and I guess
but that's what I'm saying. Like they didn't have a chance to tell anybody about any of that.
And then the sister goes, "Oh, Grandpa Seth's voice brought us here." Like Grandpa Seth went back to hell like a minute ago. How did he bring you guys here?
Yeah, he said he couldn't come back.
So he says, "Here, Joshua, the contents of this backpack. You must use it when you absolutely are in peril or big danger or whatever." And so he's, you know, just up against the Stonehenge wall and concentrating on, I guess, goodness. And then the goblins grab him and he whips out a double-decker bologna sandwich. And I guess they don't want him to eat it because then if he eats that and they turn him into a plant, there will be cholesterol and like meat
That's
remnants.
what the cholesterol line was, because there's Yeah, I couldn't put that together until now because earlier there are at least a couple of examples that they're talking about, especially when he's doing like the sermon, the preacher guy, where he's preaching against like the evils of meat.
Yes. He's talking about like smelly sausages and steaks and all that. So,
Which kind of suggests that, like, is there supposed to be a metaphor here for like for like ruining like the the sanctity of the temple of your body with like food that's bad for you? Is there?
I don't know, because those are the bad guys who are saying
I know,
that.
but hear me out.
Yeah.
Is because I might be totally BSing my way through this, but I just thought of this. Is it a thing where they simultaneously like the taste of human for some reason, but they know but they think they're not supposed to, where like meat is bad? Is this like kind of like red meat is bad or junk food is bad? So like they're actually in denial about their vegetarianism, where they have to turn humans into plants, but they're still but they actually are still humans. So like they're doing the best they can to like deaden the taste of it, or to make it more like what they're like what their bodies want to take in. That's supposed to be good for them as goblins, but in fact they're just like the masses consuming McDonald's hamburgers because they're addicted to them. Is that what we're doing?
I think you're onto something. It's complete nonsense.
Yeah.
And I think you're onto something. Welcome to Troll 2.
Am I making any sense?
I think you are. Because then that kind of goes into that denial, that like repression, I feel like is echoed elsewhere in it personally.
Yeah. No, and I think you're onto something there too. I just don't know if the writer knows about
Oh yeah,
it.
I don't think anybody.
You threw out a lot of good examples. It wasn't based on one thing, and like I'm on board with you on this now.
So I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have much more to say about it. I'm amazed we have as much time as we do.
We spent an hour on this.
Hey, thank you so much for indulging me.
Yeah, no problem, man. No, that was a bizarre experience. It wasn't Society or anything, but it was a bizarre experience.
This is Troll 2. I do own this on Blu-ray, the 20th anniversary Nilbog edition, and I will upgrade it to 4K if they do that. So.
The thing that clenches
HDR, make it happen.
The thing that clenches the just really bizarre, counterintuitive nature of this whole thing is the title.
Yeah.
Like, in a way, that's kind of the best thing about it. Like, that just sums the whole thing up in a package. Like, this cannot be understood. It doesn't even have it has the title of a sequel to a different movie.
Did I already explain, since we've sat down, what the title was, or did I only explain to you that one time?
No, I think we did it on camera here.
And if I didn't, I talked about it on the couch. So. That'll be in here somewhere, whatever.
Well, anyway, thanks for showing it to me, I think.
Thank you for indulging me.
Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We will see you again with more stuff here on Evolution real soon. And that's it. I'm Captain Logan, and this is Connor Nielsen.
Bye.
We'll see you later, folks.